So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first?
At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge.
Always two there are.
Good. Twice the pride, double the foe.
You are the chosen one!
I don't know if you forgot who we are, but we're back. Roll On Gaming is here. Welcome back to our channel. Welcome back to discussions about Star Wars Unlimited. My name is Kevin, and joining me as always is my brother Corwin. How are you today, Corwin?
Doing great, man. Excited to talk about all these spoilers. Man, so many of them we've gotten the past couple weeks.
You know, I tell you, we take just an extra week off, and we're thinking, you know, it's going to be fine. There's going to be a couple things here and there. The game doesn't come out for 5 more months. No, we get a deluge. So that's what this episode is about. We are going to do a massive spoiler review of all the things we missed. It's going to be great because a lot of these cards are really, really exciting. Now that FFG has sort of gotten the starter exclusive and the sort of base level cards out of the way, it seems like everything that drops now is a banger. And we're reaping the benefits of that by being able to see it, apply it to the game, add it to the list. I mean, we're almost halfway to the full set 1 of cards from Sparkle Rebellion. 117 cards spoiled. That's crazy.
Yeah, we're getting there. It's definitely coming up on that 50% mark. So, yeah, definitely excited to talk about some of these. I think we've seen a lot in aggression, obviously, this month. So, definitely excited to kind of expand on the different aspects here. But yeah, I think we've got some good stuff incoming.
Well, let's get right into it. Let's get into the good stuff because you know, we're getting after it, man. I mean, this is aggression month, and we're going to be aggressive about talking about these spoilers. All right, so let's start with the base. The FFG Twitter account every aspect month has been doing a gradual reveal of units, bases, events, and upgrades. And so we have a base to talk about, which is Tarkin Town. This was sort of seen in a Gamegenic image, but Tarkin Town is here. It's the 25 health red base. And for that -5 health, you get the epic action of dealing 3 damage to a damaged non-leader unit. Now, where does this stack up in your hierarchy of 25 health bases?
I think I kind of look at them very similarly. So I don't know how much that trade-off is going to be worth it. 3 damage for 5 health on your side. I think if you're finishing off a unit, it feels pretty good. But with it being non-leader, it's it's probably something that's going to be more impactful maybe later on in the game. So I mean, I think it fits the aggression mold. I just am not super excited about it for the 5 health trade-off, at least not yet.
I think if you're playing in single aspect and you're playing this with Vader, you know, you're going to be able to proc this pretty easily because of his ability. It might go well early game if you're trying to knock your opponent's tempo off and you're able to get some damage but not kill a thing. Again, late game, you know, you're almost always going to be trying to finish off something that's going to deal, quite frankly, more than 5 damage to you, because that's when the trade-off becomes a lot more apparent. You know, if you've got something that's a 5/6 or a 6/7 like an ATST, and an ATST has damage on it, but you're within 3, you're saving yourself 6 damage at least by using Tarkin Town to get rid of it. I don't think it transcends the energy conversion lab for me. I still think if I'm playing a 25 health base right now, it's that one, just because of the ambush aspect. But I like it better than Security Complex, that's for sure.
Yeah. I think this one falls squarely in the middle for me as well. I just will need to see how effective that 3 damage really is. But it's going to be another timing and sequencing thing to really make the most out of it.
So we've seen Vigilance, you get a shield. We've seen Command, you get to ambush out a unit. We've seen now Aggression, you're dealing damage to a damaged unit. Cunning Month is next month. Any thoughts? What could we see for the 25 health cunning base?
Yeah, some interesting options there. I think maybe a unit exhaust or something with a resource. Although command has been doing a lot with resources too. So I could see both of those things being being potential options for a cunning base. But I don't know. I mean, even the exhausted unit, that feels pretty powerful for just 5 health.
I was going to say, it feels real powerful, and it would catapult it to the top of the ranks right away for me.
Yeah. So that might be a little bit of a stretch, but I think something along those lines, potentially just kind of manipulating actions of your opponents, could potentially be a theme there.
Yeah. I do also want to throw out potentially getting a discount on an event. And there's a reason why I say that, and we'll get to that in just a little bit, because it does seem like events might be pretty important to cunning. But let's move on from Tarkin Town. Jury's still out on Tarkin Town. Let's move on to the unit that was revealed in the card fan of 4 for Aggression Month, and that was Cantina Braggart. This is a 1-cost single aspect aggression ground unit. For that 1 resource, you're getting a 0/3 Underworld unit. This is a common, and it has Raid 2. Right away, I mean, it's pretty obvious this goes in a Grand Inquisitor deck, but does it go anywhere else?
I mean, I'm always going to be interested at 1-cost options. So for me, yes, I would be looking at this card just standardly. 3 defense is pretty good for 1. So it's gonna be something that is giving you a little bit of tank for what you're paying, and then if you can increase the raid 2 off of something else that maybe tags on with the underworld keyword there, or another option that's boosting your units, I think you can get a lot of value out of this card at 1. It's not going to do a ton of work, but it's a really good early game unit, I think.
Yeah, I don't have a ton to say about this other than I like it because it's 1 cost. I don't like it because we don't have an Underworld tribal yet. So if that ever is correct. If that ever comes into play, I'll be a lot happier about it. I mean, I tend to favor tribal more than non-tribal. But I mean, that being said, the Grand Inquisitor is not Underworld, and I'm putting this up 3 of this in every deck, because he's going to be able to ready and hit your base right away, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yep, I agree.
Not much more to say about Cantina Braggart. Solid card in the right situation. So let's continue here and move on to the Disabling Fang Fighter. Another single aspect aggression unit. For 3 resources, you're getting a Mandalorian Vehicle Fighter as a space unit. 3 attack, 2 HP. When played, you may defeat an upgrade. Now, this card, despite not being Imperial or Rebel, I think this card has a lot of use because of that ability. That ability is super versatile, and I think that's something that people are going to want, is upgrade removal in this game.
Yeah, say more about that. Are we thinking that because some of the upgrades that we've seen so far are going to be that widespread, or?
Well, we're thinking that primarily because experience and shields are upgrades. That's why we're thinking that. So,
yeah,
if you can get rid of a Vader saber or a Fallen lightsaber with this, great. But if you can't, then getting rid of somebody's shield if you're playing against a Luke deck or another Vigilance type deck that gives shields, or that 1 experience that could knock out your Sentinel or whatever, that seems pretty good. And then also, a little bit of a corner case here, but it's definitely one that's been discussed. If your opponent entrenches you, you can use the Disabling Fang Fighter to get rid of that entrenched.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I guess that definitely has applications, and I think will certainly add to the value of the card. I just feel like I'm still mostly underwhelmed by what we're seeing in space to this point, and this card is kind of falling in the same line. I just don't see it as being as good of an option as you could get for, a ground unit for 3. So I think, I think that, yeah, certainly the one plate effect will help its cause, but I still think that this is probably an inferior option to some other things you could spend 3 on.
Well, we'll see if you're still thinking that way at the end of the video, but I agree that we've seen plenty of 3 cost 3 4s in ground, and you're getting a 3-2 here. So the cost curve in space versus ground still does exist, but it does feel a lot better if you can remove a shield or something else that's causing you a lot of problems with the disabling Fangfighter. So let's move on to the Wampa. Shout out to a specific podcast that likes this card very much. This is a 4 cost aggression ground unit. It is a creature, and you are getting a 4/5 overwhelm unit. I like it. There's not a ton to say here. It's similar to how there wasn't a ton to say with ATST when that was revealed. It's a big stick with overwhelm, and you're looking to increase its damage. You're looking to hit damaged units. You're looking to hit weaker units so that you can remove stuff and then, add damage to a base. What I will say is, if you ever wanted one of your units to get entrenched, this is it.
Yeah, just a very standard card here. Like you said, not much to say. It's pretty straightforward and not a whole lot of nuance to it. So I think 4 for a 4/5 is fine. Overwhelm, decent bonus, but it's not going to be this world beating card.
I think Overwhelm is going to have a really key role early on in Star Wars Unlimited, because I do think that if you're not playing an aggression, or even if you are, but you're playing a third aspect, Sentinels are going to have a lot of power level early, because people are going to be figuring out the best ways to protect your base and the best ways to protect your other units, maybe your high value units. Sentinel's really the only way to do that at this point, except for, you've got the unit Sabine that has some weird interactions with not being able to be attacked. But I think that Sentinel is going to have a pretty strong presence early. And because of that, I think overwhelm units are going to have more value than maybe they will later on, because you're going to be able to break through that Sentinel and get damage onto the base. Now, I know the other way you can do that is Saboteur. I don't actually know how many Saboteur units we're going to get. We're going to see some later, but I don't know. It remains to be seen, but Overwhelm to me has a little bit more value than I think maybe others might realize.
I think that's fair, and I certainly don't mind it being on the Wampa here. I just wish that he had more than 4 attack, because the 4 is not going to really kind of punch up and over a lot of units. Like it doesn't feel like a thing you're going to be regularly doing, putting a unit to 1 or 2 HP. So I don't know. It feels like it's bringing limited value, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out in the actual game.
Would you rather this be a 5 cost 5/6?
Yes.
Okay, good to know. So we'll move on to a card that I think is really good. Speaking of Saboteurs, the Fighters for Freedom. This is a 3 cost ground unit in aggression heroism. You're getting a 3/4 rebel trooper with Saboteur. And when you play another aggression card, you may deal 1 damage to a base. 3 of. Put it in. I got 47 more cards to put in my deck, but that's 3. That's a 3. It's in. Have at it.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, Kevin. We have a lot more spoilers to talk about, but this one's going to be my favorite of the bunch.
Wow. That's an early call. We got 11 more of these to talk about, call. and you're labeling Fighters for Freedom. Wow. Okay. Tell me why.
I really like this card a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I really like this card a lot, and it plays exactly into the argument I was just making against disabling Fangfighter. Like I would just much rather pay 3 for this card in ground than the Fangfighter in space. You've got the 4 health, which is nice for 3. The Saboteur. So you were just talking about Saboteur getting through Sentinel. To me, aggression decks really want Saboteur because they're going to be all about hitting the base, and you want to make sure that damage is impactful at all times. So I think Saboteur carries extra weight when it's on an aggression card, personally, based on what we've seen so far. And then to top it off, you're doing more damage as you're playing more aggression cards from your hand. So I think that all together makes a really, really nice package for this card that, to me, leaves it super efficient at 3 and is going to be, a really stable force for you in the ground arena. I really like this card a lot.
Do you like it enough to pay 5 for it out of aspect?
5 is a tough call. I think it's probably viable, but
so I'll give you an example.
I don't think overwhelmingly, just like on the surface, I think I'd have to pass on it at 5.
So I'll give you an example. Let's say you were playing the aforementioned single aspect Vader aggression deck, right? And your entire deck is going to be made up of either villain cards or aggression cards. A better example might be something like IG-88 or the Grand Inquisitor, because the ability is not as dependent on specifically villainy cards like it is with Vader's action. If you know that the majority of what you're playing is going to be red cards, do you think it's enough value paying the extra 2 for this, knowing that you're going to be attempting to deal multiple damage to a base with the ability on Fighters for Freedom? I don't know that the answer is no.
Yeah, I could see an argument for it. I think that there are definitely worse cards you could choose to pay the penalty for. I think the issue becomes, if you're going to 5, that means that you probably need to get 3 or 4 triggers minimum of the ability. And that is a tough ask, because as good as this card is, it's, 4 health is an open fire, and so I don't know that that getting to 5 is going to have it create that same value for you, because a lot of that value is tied up in the ability. But at the same time, again, like I said, there are worse options you could choose. So I don't think I'm paying 5 for it in a Vader deck, but I see the argument.
Yeah, I think this is one of those where it does present an interesting argument, because that ability is so good. And like you said, if you're trying to deal damage to a base, this is the way to do it. So getting that extra base damage is going to be pretty crucial. Let's talk about aggression. No, not the aspect, the card. Yeah, the card that talks about the aspect. Anyway, aggression. This is our legendary double aspect card of the month. It's called aggression, and it's 4 costs just like the rest of them. 2 aspects of aggression. You get to choose 2 out of 4 things in any order, just like the rest of them. What separates this one from the rest of them is that this is on par with some of the best art in the game. Vigilance was great because it was the Anakin art, which was really cool. Command's art wasn't as good, I don't think, but I mean, this one, especially when you see it in hyperspace, is it's up there. It really is. I mean, this perfectly captures aggression. So what do you get to choose to do on this legendary card? You get to choose 2 of any of these things. You get to draw a card. You can defeat up to 2 upgrades. Again, that counts for experience and shields. You can ready a unit with 3 or less power, and you can deal 4 damage to a unit. So what's the ideal option selection here, Corwin?
Yeah, always context dependent, but I can't see myself ever using this card to draw, personally.
Okay.
So for me, obviously the upgrades are if you have to actually have, your opponent actually has to have them on the field. I'm pretty sure I'm always readying a unit as long as I have one in play, because that's super powerful. And then probably the 4 damage. There might be a corner case where, Luke's got his saber on and he's got some damage on him, and I just, take the saber away and then deal the 4 and get him off the field, something like that, some equivalent to that scenario. So it is very context dependent, like I said, but I just don't see myself ever drawing a card. I don't know that I'm getting enough value out of that, unless they're just, the enemy's, board is clean. But if that's the case, I'm probably not even playing this card. I'm just holding it until I can kind of deliver more value from it.
I'll agree that drawing the card is probably the worst of the 4 options. But But I think if, I'm glad that it's there because it provides a universal use that isn't context dependent, right? So, there could be a world in which there are no upgrades on the board, except maybe even yours, right? And then so that doesn't work. If you get this late game, you may not have any 3-power units. You may have 4s and whatever. So that doesn't work. If you're drawing a card late game and replacing this, and maybe getting a little bit closer to that unit or that event that you need, at least that's always online. You're never going to be in a situation where you just can't use 3 of these things because of draw a card. You're always going to be able to deal 4 damage. And if you're not, and I think more than that, if there's no units on the table, then you're not playing this more than if the other option you have is to draw a card, then you're not playing this. Because again, replenishing itself, while not amazing for, what you're getting, what you could potentially get for the rest of this, if open fire cost 1 more to draw a card to it, would you play it?
Yeah, that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
That is, of course, assuming that there are units on the field.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still think that the 4 damage is a really strong option.
Oh, for sure.
And maybe if you're really trying to dig for something, the draw can help there. But I just don't see it as being as viable.
No.
There's no question that the card is good, regardless, and so it's definitely better than open fire. But you also have to have the extra aggression aspect to play it, which is part of the reason why I'm like, well, drawing a card doesn't feel great. If I'm building around this card and specifically putting into aggression aspect icons because I want to play it, then I want more value than a draw.
Well, Tyler Parrott on the FFG livestream did say that aggression wants to draw cards, but I'm not arguing with you that it's the worst of the 4 options. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, maybe once we see more of the draw mechanic flesh out, my tune will change. But for now, I don't think I'm using it for draw.
Quickly, I'll ask you the same question that I asked you for Tarkin Town. Where does this fall in your double aspect legendary tier list?
Ooh, that is a tough one. I think
I did say quickly.
Yeah, you did. I think it's tough because I think there are so many good, like all of these cards are super impactful, and they should be, because you're asking someone to bring an extra icon, like same icon, right? I just think that for me, it really is. It's probably this one or what's the vigilance?
Yeah.
I think it's one of those two for me.
I think
this one is definitely really good.
I think vigilance is. I don't think any of them are third place. I think vigilance is tied with this one, and then command is right behind it. Because the base heal is really what you're playing the vigilance one for. And and I love the resource aspect of the command one. So,
yes,
I think
agreed.
I think you're not going wrong if you're playing any of these, but I don't think you're going to play double aspect just to play any of these. You need some more help in double aspect. And maybe we'll get that.
Which we'll get. I'm sure we will.
More than 120 cards left. So I'm not going to do that math. Don't ask me to do it. All right, let's move forward. So we've got 2 spoilers here from our friends over at the Unplayable podcast. Their link will be in the description below to this video. Go check them out. Give them all the love and follows and cookies and candies and cakes and stuff, because they're great. So we'll start with another legendary, which is awesome that we're seeing legendaries from folks other than Fantasy Flight Games, which is really cool. This is an event. This is a 6-cost cunning event called Change of Heart. It is a gambit, whatever that means, and you get to take control of a non-leader unit. And at the start of the regroup phase, its owner takes control of it. This card is bonkers. Full stop.
Tell me why.
You get to take control of a non-leader unit. That's all you need to do. So
for 6?
For 6, yeah. So in a game, right? Okay, so when you're at 6, where do you get, right? You know, you're getting into ATST territory, you're getting into Callus territory, you're getting into Obi-Wan territory, you're getting into Gladiator Star Destroyer territory. You know, you're getting into stuff like that. You're getting stuff that hits hard and does stuff. Imagine taking control of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now you have a Sentinel on your side of the board. That's crazy. Now imagine taking that Sentinel and using it to trade into another high-value target that your opponent has. And thereby deleting both units from the field. That's crazy. You're using your opponent's unit against them and removing both of them in the process. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. Like there's other cards that we're gonna see that sort of fit the bill of things that you would be really excited to have in your control. That we're gonna get into in a little bit, but like it's expensive. But I think this card is gross in a good way.
I wish it said take control of a unit and ready it. I mean, that would be like ridiculously powerful.
Bonkers.
But and it would have to cost more than 6 at that point. But I just don't. I can't agree with the bonkers take. I think it's fine, and I think that in situations it can potentially be tide turning, and so the upside of the card is great, and I do like that aspect of it. But I just think, I don't know, it feels kind of easy to play around. Personally, that's kind of how I see it. If you're at 6, like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel spending 6. I mean, maybe if you are able to, you know, if there's something 5 costs that's really impactful too, maybe. But once you get to 6, like, there's going to be one target for this that's like matching up value wise, you know? And if your opponent uses that card first or waits you out to play it or whatever, I don't know. It feels like timing and sequencing of this is going to make or break it.
Well, I mean, I think that's true regardless, right? And I think that, you know, if you have this, then you're taking initiative and you're playing it as the first action of the next round, so that your opponent can't just turn that high value target sideways, you know, and go from there. I think that, you know, there's going to be some really crucial decision points in using this card, which I think is true about any good card, right? And if your opponent's playing suboptimally to play around Change of Heart on the chance that you have it, there'll be times when you don't have it, and then you're reaping the benefits of that. So I think this could be a game-changing card, which is why I like it. Now, I'm more willing to go for those sort of, you know, home run or strikeout plays than you are, which maybe is why I'm a little more upbeat about this card. But I think it's nuts, and if I'm playing in a cunning deck, then I'm definitely giving this card a hard look. If I can, you know, pull it in my you know, 1 in 8 legendary spread.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, we can of course agree to disagree on this one. I think I'll need to see it in action before I swing to your side. Once you steal my Obi-Wan or my Han Solo or something, then we'll talk again.
I was just gonna say, everybody mark this time code when we actually get cards in hand and I play Change of Heart on one of Corwin's units. I will put it in a video and we will I'll flash right back to this moment. It's gonna be great. I cannot wait. Mostly just because I can't wait to be playing with real cards. But anyway, we'll move on to the other reveal that was given to us by by Unplayable for Unlimited. Very exciting. Lando Calrissian. Now, this is a ground unit that is also 6 cost for a Cunning Heroism card. You're getting a Fringe Official. This is a rare. 6 attack, 5 HP. Here's another Saboteur, Corwin. And when played, you can return up to 2 friendly resources to their owner's hands. So, when would you use this ability? Let's start right there.
I mean, first inclinations are Han Solo, right? I mean, which is thematic. Like if you're running Lando in a Han Solo leader deck, then you might be dropping resources that you don't necessarily want to from the top of your deck or whatnot. So I think being able to return those back if they're cards you need is a pretty good application for it.
So let's talk about that for a second, because if you use Han Solo's ability, and he's deployed, so you're doing it from the top of the deck instead of your hand. You still have to discard a resource or defeat a resource at the start of your next action phase. So wouldn't you be putting yourself a resource down if you do that?
Yes, but the ability to return. I mean, if you're going to be pulling extra cards off the deck and hand anyway to trigger Han, then being able to recoup those in situations where you need them, I just think is one way to use this. I'm not advocating for its strength or its game-changing ability, but I think that it fits with the spirit of the card and the intent.
I see it in the reverse, in the sense that I think you use Lando before you use Han. Because if you need to return a resource to your hand, you can supplant that loss with Han's ability. The other thing I'll say is that this is going to be really useful when you have to make a difficult decision early game about what to resource. Oh, you resourced a waylay and that could have come into play a lot earlier. Bring it back. You resourced something you couldn't afford, but now you can afford it, but you have no way of getting it back. And now you do. I think I think this Lando is going to work really well in concert with Han. But I would do it the opposite way, and potentially get that get that resource back, and then just defeat. You're gonna have to defeat something anyway, but at least now you're in a spot where you can still pay for stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there will be some tricks, some interesting tricks you can pull with this, and certainly once we start to have more support for mechanics around returning resources, that's going to make this pretty interesting. Aside from the ability, I like that he has 6 attack for 6. That feels pretty good.
Yeah, Saboteur for 6 feels real good.
Yeah. So I do like this card. I think it's probably going to be a bit more niche than some of the other ones, but in a good way. I think it's going to encourage some kind of creative deck building, and I like that.
This is your priority target as soon as it hits the field, if you're playing against it, because the ability in Cunning to surprise strike for 9, completely and utterly unblocked, no matter what, is nuts. So this is going to be one of the higher value saboteurs that you're going to find, I think. And so if this is hitting the table, you got to get rid of it quick, because you do not want to take 6 to the face, much less 9, much less whatever else you can do. So this is going to be a real strong.
Agreed.
All right, let's move on to the Smuggling Compartment. Now, this is one of 2 cards that were revealed on the Wargamer website. So we'll link that in the description box below. This is probably the least exciting of the 2. And because you're getting a 1-cost single aspect cunning upgrade that you attach to a vehicle unit, it gives you +1/+1. An attached unit gains on attack ready a resource. Useful, pays for itself pretty regularly. Not super sexy.
Not super sexy, but very functional. And another card that I think is a very strong option at 1. I would play this card even if it didn't give you the +1/+1 to the body.
Wow.
I just think, the readying a resource on attack is great. I mean, if you're sticking this on something in space and your opponent's not going to go out there to challenge you, then it's just let's just keep readying resources, multiple turns. This card just exponentially gains value every turn it can proc that attack ability. So I like it. Big fan.
I think the leaders that are going to like this card are the ones that have abilities that cost money. Because if this is floating out there, then you can spend all your resources with impunity because you know you're going to get one back to be able to proc your ability.
That's very good application for it. It can probably do some work in a Boba deck, compounding on what Boba's already doing with his readying resources. I mean, yeah, you stick this on it. Well, it's too late in the game, I think, for this card if you're sticking on the fire spray. But it could work.
Well, you pay for yourself right away if you stick it on the fire spray because the fire spray comes in ready.
This is true.
So
this is true.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah, so I really like this card. I think it's going to be a very good include for Cunning.
I think it's got some potential, but it may have been overshadowed, I think, by the other card that Wargamer got, which is of course the Millennium Falcon. Now, the Millennium Falcon is nuts. Here's another legendary. This is a 3-cost space unit in Cunning and Heroism. You're getting an underworld vehicle transport that's a 3/4, which enters play ready. And the caveat is that when you ready cards during the regroup phase, you either pay 1 resource or return this unit to her owner's hand. So, whoa. lot to unpack from the smuggling compartment on the Millennium Falcon. Just before you even get to the regroup phase ability. Card's great. Card's fantastic.
Yeah, it is good. And I think it's even good if you're paying for it to stay out an extra turn. I would probably pay 4 for this card if that was its base cost. So the fact that you have that ability to pay to keep it on the field, I think it's definitely worth it. At least the first time around. So yeah, I think it's definitely very strong, and obviously has direct applications with Smuggling Compartment being able to get that resource right away that you could use to keep it in the field.
How long does Falcon stay out before it's too long? Right? So like, if this is out for 3 rounds, you're paying 6 resources for it? Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that
too much?
Is that a factor? Yeah.
Too much. I think I'm good with it at 4. Not so good with it at 5. Definitely don't want it at 6. So for me, it's 2 turns.
So after that second round, are you returning it to your hand, assuming it hasn't been touched in space?
Well, I would have to, I guess, right?
Got it.
Or pay the money.
Well, that's sort of what I'm asking. It's like you're not eating the cost, because theoretically, right? If you don't eat the cost and return it to your hand after 2 rounds, then you have to pay 3 to get it out again. So right. It's this dance of like, when is it really good? When is it not? When is it too much? When is it not?
I mean, the other way you can look at it is every turn you're paying 1 cost for the same exact card.
Yeah.
But that is contingent. That's the thing, right? So it's during the regroup phase. And it's when you ready cards. So that means that you can spend a resource on this card going into next turn, as opposed to having to spend the resource at the end of your turn. And I think that's a very important distinction.
Yep.
Because if I can pay 1 for this every turn, it's dependent on what's in my hand. But I'm probably doing that if I'm looking at it just in terms of paying 1 for this same unit each time, assuming it's been untouched.
The other consideration is that obviously this has a tremendous synergy with Han Solo, to the point where the resource that you are exhausting after you ready cards during the regroup phase can be the one that you defeat with Han Solo's ability at the start of the next action phase. So you'll never be down a resource as long as you're continuously using Han's ability. And of course, if you're using Han's ability, you get this out ready round 1, which is bonkers.
Pretty good.
Yeah. There's a reason it's a legendary, folks. There is a reason. So this one I think will have a lot of people hoping that they pull it in their boxes because it's got some play.
Well, it's absolutely one of the better space units we've seen to date.
It is.
That much is true. And that's not saying much, Kevin, quite frankly, but nevertheless, yeah, it's actually interesting to me that some of the better space units have come out of Cunning so far. I think this one and I think the Fett's Fire Spray are both looking pretty good compared to everything else that we've gotten in space so far. So that's interesting.
I would argue that Home One's probably better than Fett's Fire Spray.
Well, Home One is the best one.
Yeah.
Like that's just end of story for me anyway. So that given that Home One is the home run we think it is. You know, the next two I think on the list are these two.
I would also reserve a place for Wing Leader, but that's just because I hate Wing Leader. It always messes with me. But anyway, we'll so we're chiseling away at that opinion that space is bad with you, Corwin. So I'm happy to see this.
Keep releasing cards like this, and sure, I'll change my mind.
Well, we'll keep going and we'll see what we get. Let's talk about the Homestead Militia, which is not a space unit. This is a ground unit, and this was revealed by the Holocron Card Hub. Again, link description. You know the drill by now. 3-cost ground unit, single aspect command. You're getting a 3/4 Fringe Trooper that has the ability while you control 6 or more resources, this unit gains Sentinel. I think you're regularly getting to 6 in command. I don't see that as a big issue. So I think, I mean, this falls right into the sphere of Sentinels that you're going to want to play at 3 costs, right? You've got your Cell Block Guard. You've got your Cloud City Wing Guard. You've got your Emperor's Royal Guard. Again, that's conditional, but that's still there. You know, this slots right in there, you know? And if you're ramping like you're supposed to in command, there's a really good chance that by the time you get this card, you have 6 resources. Now, does that mean I'm playing it? No, I'm not. I'm not playing it. But that's just because I'm stubborn and I like Imperials, especially in command.
Well, this one doesn't have a faction here. It can be played on either side. But I think this card is fine. I am kind of with you in that it probably doesn't make the cut for me in command. I just think that if I draw it early, I just don't want to see it. Yeah. I'm resourcing it in my opening hand. Yep. You know, and for that reason, I think it just falls short. It just, you know, I want to see it later on, and you know, so maybe it's a one of, but I don't think that you can consistently, because you need the Sentinel. You need the Sentinel to make it worth it, and I just don't think I can get it consistently enough. So I'm probably passing on this one.
I just realized there's a deceased or incapacitated otherwise stormtrooper in the background. That's kind of messed up. This militia not be capable of taking out stormtroopers. But anyway, that's just a little digress that I need to make there. All right, so let's talk about some actual stormtroopers. But not really, but kinda. We'll talk about it. This is the 97th Legion. Now, this is from a string of cards that were revealed this weekend at TwitchCon. FFG did several Star Wars Unlimited streams from TwitchCon, which was great because we got to see a bunch of new cards. We're going to go over this one first because it's probably the worst one, and that's not even saying much because I still think this one has some value. You're getting a ground unit for 7 resources. You're getting a 0/0 single aspect ground unit for 7 resources. Why are you paying all that money? Well, I'll tell you. You're getting an Imperial Trooper, which again, I don't understand why this is not villainy, but whatever.
Villainy.
And this unit gets +1/+1 for each resource you control. So if you're not taking a discount to play this, you're getting a 7/7 for 7, which for single aspect, it's pretty much on par. I have more of a problem with the fact that this is an ability unit than I do with the ability. But I'm going to be hard-pressed to put this anywhere unless I'm specifically playing a deck that buffs my troopers or buffs my Imperials in a way that is meaningful to where he's beyond a 7/7 for 7.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I just don't think that this card does enough at 7 to really justify it personally. So I'm leaving it out. I know Imperials want to go big and tall with their command approach, but I don't think this is the card to do it. If you're so late in the game that you're at 9 or 10, fine. But at a 7/7, I don't think so.
Yeah, if it had Overwhelm, I'd feel a lot better about it. But the art is
Yeah,
great.
it's just vanilla ability, so I can't. Yeah, I know. Agreed. Good art, not so good text, card text.
This is going to be a sick hyperspace card, is my prediction. So I'm going to revisit that whenever I see
like
the
that.
hyperspace version of this. So let's continue with Bosk. Bosk was also revealed at TwitchCon. Bosk is sick. This might be the best art we've seen all over the last 2 weeks that we've been gone. It's probably up there with one other card that we're going to see in a couple minutes. But this Bosk is a 5-cost cunning villainy ground unit. It is an uncommon. It is a 4/5 underworld bounty hunter. It has ambush. And, you know, I talked about events earlier with cunning. Here's why. When you play an event, you may deal 2 damage to a unit. So far, the best events that we've seen in Star Wars Unlimited have been cunning events, right? You've got Shoot First, you've got Surprise Strike, you've got Waylay, you've got Asteroid Sanctuary. So if you eliminate all of those except Shoot First, this card is still amazing. Because if you give Bosk the ability to attack for 5 and do 7 damage and not be touched, that's amazing. That's amazing. I think this card is going to do some serious work in the right deck, which right now is probably a Boba Fett deck.
Yeah, agreed. It's a Boba Fett deck, and possibly even a Boba Fett deck that's running aggression too, to take advantage of or compound that damage that Bosk is doing with his ability. Mm-hmm. So I think that Bosk is a very good ground unit, and I think, yeah, he's definitely an auto include, at least as of right now, in Boba, and I think he is going to be a mainstay for cunning for some time.
You get, and you just said aggression, and it I don't know why it didn't click until now. It's not just a cunning event.
Yeah, it's any event.
So you're getting 6 damage from an open fire.
Yes, exactly.
This card is insane. This card's awesome. I love it.
And there's no cap to it. So like, it's anytime you play an event. So if you want to just load up on some of the cheaper ones too, especially with Boba readying resources, I mean, it feels pretty good.
I'm in. It's incredible. Sign me up, except I don't see myself playing a lot of cunning, but that's probably going to change because this card's really good. All right, so we'll keep going here. We've only got a few left to discuss because, again, we were gone for a while. Let's talk about Count Dooku.
Here we go.
Yo, Count Dooku. Okay, this is probably my favorite of the weekend, because it's a big beefy boy, and he's got some stuff going for him. All right, so Count Dooku, rare. First of all, one of the best parts about this card is that it's a rare, not a legendary. Could very easily be a legendary, but it's not. It's a rare. 7-cost, vigilance, villainy, ground unit. Okay, so this slots right into my Krennic deck. We'll just put that in there. Okay, 5/4, 5 attack, 4 HP. The 4 is not great. Force Separatist Sith. So both Force and Sith is interesting to me. Our first shielded unit. This is shielded.
Yes.
When you play this unit, give him a shield token. I was waiting to see Droidekas. Instead, we got Count Dooku. We got the wrong Separatist. But it's fine. Because when Dooku comes into play, he has a when played effect. You may defeat a unit with 4 or less remaining hit points. Yo, Count Dooku is gross. Yes, Count Dooku is gross. This is awesome.
Yeah, really good card. I agree. And only weakness here is the 4 health. That's the only weakness I really see with this card. If he was 5, yeah, top tier. But I think the 4 probably balances him a little bit more. And And I think, well, let me ask you, Kevin. So we've seen now over the past 2 weeks, we've seen some really good, unique characters come in at 7. We've seen Dooku, we've seen Mace, and then we obviously have Han Solo from before. So where are you leaning right now? With your Imperial bias aside,
Yep.
where are you leaning right now on the big iconic 7 cost characters?
Mace is 3rd, and I never thought I'd say that
Interesting.
because Mace is really good. But I think Mace is 3rd. I think Dooku is 2nd. I think Han's 1st. Han's ability to consistently delete things without being touched can't be understated. And you force yourself to have to run into Han Solo, and he's doing 6 back to you.
Yep.
Right? Now, I think it's very close. Because this Dooku acts as a mini takedown as soon as it's played. And then it can be defeated by takedown. But it can't be defeated by open fire until you remove the shield. So,
right.
So that shield protection is what makes this viable at 4 HP. Because if it didn't have that, it's not good. I mean,
well, it wouldn't be nearly the card that it is.
It's good. It's not great. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
The ability to defeat something when played is still good. I don't know that it's 7 cost good. I think that becomes a 6. You know what I mean? If that
yeah,
if that shielded isn't
yeah, yeah, I agree. That's how you would probably balance it.
But he's definitely got some survivability, and like again, the only thing you're really worried about here is takedown, at least at this point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, or another
Dooku,
yeah,
which is a threat. Yeah, that 4 is definitely becoming a threshold number.
It is
for health on a character, and so anytime I see that, I'm going to be like, eyebrows raised.
Yeah.
Which is why I think I give Mace the edge, but I think it's very close between these two. They're both really, really good cards.
Yep. Yep. I'm excited to play Dooku. It hurts me a little bit that this card ended up on a Separatist and not on an Imperial, but I know down the line Separatists are going to be awesome. So I mean we'll have to see how good Dooku is moving forward, and I have very, very high hopes for Dooku. I have decently high hopes for the next 2 cards, despite the fact that they're in heroism. So we'll start with the one again. We'll start with the one that's just a bit less exciting. Bright Hope. This is a space unit for 4 cost, command heroism. You're getting a 2/6 rebel vehicle transport with Sentinel, which is great. And then when played, you may return a friendly non-leader ground unit to its owner's hand. If you do, draw a card. I think both of these abilities are really good. I think the fact that you're getting a Sentinel with 6 HP for 4 is incredibly good. I think, Corwin, this may be the closest on-curve space card that we've seen to this point. Like, you're getting all this for 4.
Well, I still think Home 1, even at 8, is definitely.
Yeah.
But yes, I like this card a lot. And so space is, in these last 2 cards we've seen with Falcon and this one, definitely redeeming itself. But yes, I think having a 6 health Sentinel in space is really good, especially because the space units just naturally, as we've seen, aren't just going to pack as much punch unless you're playing a big guy out there. So he's going to take a couple hits for you before anybody's getting to your base in space, and I think that is really valuable. And I like the when played effect as well, especially if you've got a unit that's maybe damaged quite a bit and you want to keep in the field, or has a different when played effect that you would want to re-up. A lot of applications for that. And you get a card draw out of it. So I think this is a very, very good space unit.
I'm trying to remember if there's more than just the Home One, which we've discussed at length, and Relentless that can take this out in one hit. The only other one might be Fett's Fire Spray. No, Fett's Fire Sprays cannot do it, confirmed. So, of all the space units that we've seen to this point, the only two that can take this out in one hit are, what, 8 cost or more?
Yeah, Home One and Relentless.
Yeah.
So 8 and 9.
And you're getting this, and you're getting this for 4. That's awesome.
Yep. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. There's a reason that Bright Hope is unique, because if you had more of these, I mean, your opponent is just giving up on space at that point. And then not to mention the ability to return a ground unit to your hand and draw a card.
Yes.
So you can use that to heal a unit. You can use that to re-up on an ambush. This is great with Leia. My goodness. The ability to re-exhaust something, fantastic. And it's good with Leader Leia too, because it's a rebel, that's nuts. But let me ask you this. This is a 2/6. How would you feel if it was a 3/7 with ambush?
Ambush instead of Sentinel?
No, with Sentinel.
Oh, obviously a lot better.
A lot better. Well, that's what you get with Wedge Antilles. Now, already this, we're putting this up in the top tiers, the upper echelons of artwork in the game, because when this comes out for hyperspace, it's going to be insanity.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, fantastic,
so good.
Fantastic. Wedge Antilles, 5 cost ground unit. Now it's a ground unit, which is interesting, but you're getting a 5 cost command heroism rebel, just a rebel, not a pilot, just a rebel. For 5 costs, you're getting a 5/5, it's 5 attack, 5 HP, and each friendly vehicle unit gets +1/+1 and gains ambush. So again, your Bright Hope that you just played for 4 is now 3/7 with ambush and Sentinel, and can do all that other stuff. Wedge Antilles for a rare, love it. Sign
really
me
good
up.
card.
Yeah,
really good card. Yeah, would happily pay 5 for Wedge, and yeah, it just fits the bill of what it feels like Hero Command is trying to do in space. I mean, yeah, just having the ability to obviously beef up vehicles is naturally going to be something interesting, but then giving ambush on top of that, yeah, it just definitely feels like a really strong include in a deck that's trying to leverage its space advantage. And yeah, the 5 cost, he's going to stick around a little bit too at 5 HP. So definitely feel like Wedge is a very, very strong option for Rebel Command or Hero Command so far.
Now that +1/+1 does a little bit more to get these space units on curve. What are we thinking? We still down on space?
Well, yeah, I mean, relative to ground, yes, of course.
All right. All right.
But it does seem like between Wedge, obviously Bright Hope, which we just talked about, we've been talking about Home One during this episode. We can't forget about Admiral Akbar. These are cards that Hero Command has access to, which are starting to form kind of an interesting little archetype here. And I think with enough support, those ships could do a lot of work. They could really, really make a formidable threat out in space to deal with what I think, I think to date, outside of the big ship, the big Home One ship, Imperials just have better space units at this point. And so hopefully now with some of these others that we're seeing, Falcon and Bright Hope today, we're starting to tip the scales a little bit more, or balance the scales a little bit more. But yeah, I think, I don't know. I like where this is going, is what I'm saying. I like where they're going with the Hero Command kind of space arena strategy, and we'll be eager to see more.
I don't know that I agree with you that Villainy has better space units. Well, maybe Villainy does because it has Fet's Fire Spray, but I don't know that Imperials have a better space repertoire than Rebels. Because if you think about it, Alliance X-Wing outclasses TIE Fighter. TIE Interceptor outclasses Alliance X-Wing, but if they trade, then it doesn't matter. Wing Leader probably outclasses TIE Advanced. So that has the advantage there. Home One is better than Relentless. And then I mean, there's definitely a world in which Bright Hope is better than Gladiator Star Destroyer. You know, it doesn't do as much damage, but I mean, I think based on our reactions here, I'd rather have Bright Hope than I would Gladiator, and you're paying 2 less for it. So I don't know. I don't know that I can agree with that just yet. What I do know is that I need a wedge for Imperials. It doesn't. I mean, I don't know if it's Baron Fell. I would love a Baron Fell. Oh my gosh, I would play so much Baron Fell. It'd be gross. Sorry, I got a little carried away. I don't know if it's Baron Fell. I don't know if it's Sienna Ree. I don't know who it is. But I need some units to buff up my Imperial Space units. And I need more Imperial Space units. I need TIE Bombers. I need TIE Advanced. I have a TIE Advanced. I need Vader's TIE is what I need. I need, you know, give me all the TIE Fighters. Give me more Star Destroyers. Just load me up. And I said this several episodes ago, like where we were just starting out and we were talking about our wish list for Star Wars Unlimited. What I want is I want the ability to have a space-focused strategy. You know, I want to be able to field a fleet of Imperial ships and not be punished for it because they're not as good as ground units. So I don't know what it's going to take to get to that point, but I know right now, at least in my estimation, Rebels are closer to that than Imperials are, and it makes me sad.
Yeah, I think in terms of the way that the space units are gelling together, I think it's true that we've seen more support on that for Rebels to this point. But I do think that some of the smaller ships on the Imperial side, they pack a decent punch compared to their Rebel counterparts. And so I still want to see how that dynamic plays out. But I just come back to what I was saying. I mean, I just really like the direction that Rebel Green is going here in space, and I definitely want to explore that further.
Well, I still have hope because it may not be a bright hope, but I still have hope.
I was going to ask you, is it a bright hope?
I hate that we were on the same wavelength on that one. I still have hope because we still have 135 cards left to be spoiled. I did the math in my head. Be proud of me. But it'll be 134 at least by the time this episode comes out. And by the time you lovely listeners and viewers have consumed this content, if you've made it this far, it may be even less than 135. So I'm just going to say we have more than 100 cards still to go. We have more than half of Spark of Rebellion still to be revealed. So maybe my hopes for having a space armada to the point where I don't have to go play Armada are yet to be realized. But that's it. Those are the deluge of Star Wars Unlimited card reveals that we have had at our disposal throughout the last couple weeks. The excitement just keeps building because not only are we getting these awesome new cards, but now stores are starting to take pre-orders and reservations for Star Wars Unlimited. And I've got a couple local stores that I'm going to be getting product from. Super excited. I'm looking to start some tournaments and get some weekly plays going. So it almost doesn't feel like the game's still 4.5 months away, even though it is. And that saddens me deep in my soul. But, you know, with this steady stream of reveals and with the anticipation just building and building, it's going to be quite the wave of awesomeness come March 1st and pre-release weekend.
Unquestionably. And so I'm with you. I'm definitely feeling it. And as we see more and more cards and start to think more and more about different concepts and combinations and themes and everything that goes into deck building, I don't have to tell you this, Kevin, as someone who's always theory crafting. Yeah, it's exciting just to see what the possibilities are and how creative we can get. So love seeing some of these. I think some of these cards that we talked about today are just some of the more thought-provoking ones, I think, that we've seen to this point, and that's what I'm excited about, to just keep having those conversations and continue to explore just how much this set can really do.
Well, you said it, and I think we're gonna use that as our final point for the night, because we've taken up more than an hour of our generous viewers and listeners' time. So thank everybody so much for listening and for watching, and for continuing to support us on our channel. We're really excited for the game to come out, so we can start doing a variety of other things. We've got some stuff in the works already, and we're gonna keep building this channel the best we can. We're gonna keep talking about the game because we enjoy it and it's fun, and first and foremost. But it's fun to talk about it. It's also fun to interact with all of you. So if you have any thoughts on some of these cards, go ahead and drop them in the comments below. Go ahead and leave a like on the video if you enjoyed this content, and if you're new to the channel, please feel free to hit subscribe. That helps us out a lot. And we're excited to keep getting closer and closer and closer to Star Wars Unlimited. So that's going to do it for us. For my brother Corwin, I'm Kevin, signing off. Have a great day.